Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to start digging into Agenda 2030. I'm going to try to do it like as a weekly segment, and hopefully what we can do is get a little bit more insight on what's written versus what it could be actually meaning. Okay, so we'll get into that right after this.
Because I am hard, you will not like me. But the more you hate me, the more you will learn.
Alright, welcome back to the channel. So, without further ado, what I want to talk about is we all have heard the term Agenda 2030 and what it could mean, and while it's outlined as equal opportunities for all and it sounds really good, what it actually translates to a lot of people is population control and one world government and basically a dictatorship for the world. All right. The reason a one world government isn't going to work right now is because there's too many people in the world with different cultures and different diversities. And so in order to get everybody to conform, we have to get people on board to create this movement. All right, like AOC and that little child from Sweden about the climate change, Greta, and David Hogg, and all kinds of stuff. And let me go ahead and just cut that off real quick. So, again, our thoughts are based on a lot of things. And now we're going to go ahead and get into just a little bit of it. I mean, this Agenda 2030 is like 50 pages, and we're not going to do that all in one video. And I need more videos, right? Because we have to do this for a whole year. So, anyway, in 1992, a whole bunch of nations got together, and again, and I'm going to put all these in the description, the links to Agenda 21, 2030. Feel free to read it as you will. The nice thing about our country is we are able to form our own opinions, and we're able to devise what we think it means. But if you're a person of good debate, you will be able to read through the fine print. You'll be able to read in between the lines. Okay? Because if you're thinking about how they're going to make sure that we have no more hunger and prosperity and health care for everyone and all this other stuff, you have to also think, how are we going to accomplish that? Somebody has to pay for that, right? And also the idea of health care for everyone in this country, Medicare aside, and yet you still pay for that, but we'll get into that in a minute. Eliminates the private healthcare sector and eliminates profits. We are on a capitalist type society. Means if I start a business selling speakers, that means I'm out to make a profit. I want to sell, distribute, and acquire customers and sell my products and make a profit. This is not a new concept. But we have people like Bernie Sanders and AOC and all these other people, and that witch from wherever she's from, Taid or whatever her name is, trying to come along and say, and a lot of people, because, you know, I'll probably get a few thumbs down for this, but a lot of current generation people, those in college and those in high school, and those already influenced by this gender and speech thing, they're buying it. They're buying it because, as you know, with each generation that comes along, they get lazier and lazier. If I have to prove it to you, we have grocery delivery, food delivery, and beyond pizza and Chinese, right? You can get Applebee's. We have ordering rides through an app, and we can do anything on the internet. If we want to contact Amazon but don't feel like talking to them, we can chat with them. We're a chat-based society, a text-based society. So people are already separating from the group, the herd. and becoming more vulnerable to uh, socialist and governmental direction. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the first part of the agenda. All right. Here we go. Again, this can be found on the UN's website. I will have a link in the description. I'm not going to read everything because, as you can see, it's 41 pages. The agenda is a plan of action for people, planet, and prosperity. That sounds nice, right? Right? That sounds real nice. Okay? It also seeks to strengthen universal peace and larger freedom. Universal peace and larger freedom. That right there. I mean, how are you going to have universal peace without having a one world government? We recognize that eradicating poverty in all its forms and dimensions, including extreme poverty, is the greatest global challenge, not U.S., global, and an indispensable requirement, indispensable requirement for sustainable development. So in order to have sustainable development, we have to eliminate poverty. Well, for centuries we've had poor, we've had rich, we've had middle class. All right, all countries and stakeholders acting in collaborative partnership will implement, not could, should, will implement this plan. We are resolved to free the human race from the tyranny of poverty and want and to heal and secure our planet. What's wrong with our planet? Guys, I am not opposed to people working for what they want to work for. I've never been opposed for it. The people that don't have much maybe could have changed their path, going different directions. But you've always got the low, middle, and upper class. Some people are just dealt a better hand than others, right? So what this is saying is we're going to take from the people who have earned or have fallen into their money, and we're going to start spreading it around. I don't think that's right. We are determined to take the bold and transformative steps, which are urgently needed to shift the world onto a sustainable and resilient path. As we embark on this collective journey, we pledge that no one will be left behind. All that sounds great. But if you really read into this, it doesn't actually ever tell you how they're going to do this. Okay? Also, they plan on doing this from 2015 in the next 15 years. Now, we are determined to end poverty and hunger, which is a great idea. I'm all for it, in all their forms and dimensions, and to ensure that all human beings can fulfill their potential in dignity and equality and in a healthy environment. Dignity we can already get by just changing our path of our thoughts. Anybody can have dignity. That's free. You just got to learn it. Equality. Well, you might not get that. For whatever reason, you might not get that. And sadly, in places, especially in the United States, equality is not always there. And a healthy environment. Well, how do you form a healthy environment? You got to get rid of the people that are over polluting the planet. You got to get rid of current ways that we're doing crop growth and things like that. We cannot produce enough food for the population of this world. In my mind, I'm thinking if I'm going to get rid of poverty and hunger and everything, I've got to stop or severely slow reproduction. People don't think when they're reproducing how they're going to feed and provide for this new life that's coming into the world. Now we go on to planet. Wait a minute. Let's stop there real quick. And let's go into... let's go into something I want to show you. Give me just a moment while I find this, because sadly I was not really able to okay, let's do this one first. Let's hide that. And let's show this.
The president spent a lot of time on using the S word, socialism and socialist. It was a not too subtle, I don't know whether it's a dig or a enhancement. I'll let you decide.
I was flattered.
Okay, fair enough. You have said you are a democratic socialist. Can you be a democratic socialist and a capitalist?
Well, I think it depends on your interpretation. So there are some democratic socialists that would say absolutely not. There are other people that are democratic socialists that would say, I think it's possible.
What are you?
I think it's possible. I think.
Do you say to yourself, I'm a capitalist, but?
I don't say that.
Okay.
You know, if anything, I would say I believe in a democratic economy, but.
Gotcha.
But the but is there.
Okay.
So in some ways, whether it's you're coming from, say, Elizabeth Warren's perspective, where she says, you know, she says things like, I'm a capitalist, but we need to have hard rules for the game.
What does the private sector do better than that the private sector, look, government should stay out of X because the private sector does that better?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things. There's a lot of consumer goods where the private sector works. And by the way, I think it's important to delineate that just because you're in the private sector you can be in the private sector and be a democratically socialist business. Worker cooperatives are a perfect example of that. It's not about government takeover. It's about how much do workers have a say in your business? Do you have workers on the board? Do workers enjoy a decent amount of the wealth that they are creating? Or is the majority of these profits going to shareholders while you're paying a worker $15 an hour to live in a New York City apartment? And so that, to me, is the difference. It's not that the public sector is democratically socialist and the private sector is not. It's really about a more nuanced understanding of how our economy should work.
Hello.
Okay. She has good ideas. I mean, she's never once indicated how she plans on paying for it, but let's go on. We are determined to protect the planet from degradation, including through sustainable consumption and production. All right. For those of you that say, well, that sounds really nice, the only way to do that with the population that we have right now is through genetically modified organisms or laboratory food and crops. Because plants, if anybody's ever grown anything, they take a long time to grow naturally. So you get a normal seed, you put it in the ground, 6 to 12, 15, 20 weeks later, you have bearable fruit or vegetables, and that's a long time to go to feed people who are hungry. And certain things only grow certain times of the year. I mean, you can't grow pumpkins and such anytime but summer, and then harvest them in the fall, right? They don't do well in the cold. All right. So sustainability. Let's get back to this. Sustainability, managing its natural resources and take urgent action on climate change. This is where, okay, you may have heard about that Greta child, right? Who out of nowhere got a Peace Prize for this. I don't have a problem with fixing how we consume natural resources. And we are consuming a lot of resources above what the earth can handle. But, this is telling me that people are worried about the fact that we're running out of stuff. Well, stop fucking. So that it can support the needs and of future present and future generations, right? And you can do your own research on this as far as like Agenda 21 and 30 and what their plan is, and you can get multiple opinions and things like that, right? The Green Deal is nice, but it was never really thought out because, again, you have corporate greed, you have corporate profits, and you have a lot of people with higher interests. And I'm going to get Getta on the phone one of these days, probably next week, to talk about why the corporate greed and the agenda of money, could cause a problem with everyone else's agenda, the higher up, the government, right? And it's fine to again, you go into business, you want to make a profit. Everyone complains about Amazon or Uber or whatever and or Walmart or how greedy they are. They're not greedy. They're just doing what they got to do. You got people who say they want $15 an hour in fast food and things like that. Well, that's great. I'm all for paying somebody a livable wage. But the other side of that means that $5 or $6 Big Mac is now going to cost you $21 to $25. Because paying their employees is not the only expense they have. Right? And that's just here in the United States. But what they've done is they put together this agenda to incorporate and include those in third world countries, those that are not developed. And again, I don't mind making some nations modern, okay? Making them modern and making them a little bit more whatever. But like in India, people have been shitting and pissing and bathing in the Ganges River, and it's the nastiest river. And if you want a good old-fashioned virus, a deadly virus, just go swimming in the Ganges. And I'm sorry, but you will probably get very sick. All right? So let's go ahead and go on to the other part. And we are determined to ensure that all human beings can enjoy prosperous and fulfilling lives, and that economic, social, and technological progress occurs in harmony with nature. That sounds like some kale-eating, Prius-driving shit to me. Sorry. But look, how are we going to have economic, social, and technological progress in harmony with nature? Nature and what human beings are doing to this planet are two different things. I'm going to get to something else here. All right, let's see what else we got. Here we go. We resolve between now and 2030 to end poverty, hunger everywhere. Okay. To combat inequalities within and among countries, and to build peaceful, just, and inclusive societies. Here we go with that. Remember the guy was talking about being included. Remember, that's why I showed you that video ahead of time. Being included, everybody should have an equal say. Yet we have people right now tearing up the land with equality and equal say, because if you want or say something that is not what I agree with, now there's a fight. To protect human rights and promote gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls. This goes to the Boy Scout thing. You already see how this plan is coming about. Again, I don't have a problem with equality among women. I've never had a problem with that. There are some smart women out there. There are a lot of women that can really run a business. There's some hardcore women out there. But a lot of people have said, and I'm just saying it, okay, so if you're offended, I'm sorry. A lot of people have said that women are not capable of running a business or being president because they are too emotional. They don't have the ability to disconnect their emotions with what needs to be done. I don't necessarily think that's true. But there's a lot of people who have that belief, right? And then they say and to ensure the lasting protection of the planet and its natural resources. Well, again, that's nice, but how are we going to do that? You have to take out and eliminate the population, or the majority of it. Let's see. If I'm not mistaken, no, that's okay. I thought that was in here. It might be in the other one. All right, what else we got? Okay, a world free of poverty, hunger, disease, and want. There's a good statement right there. A world free of poverty, hunger, disease, and want. That right there, that last word, says to eliminate capitalism, to eliminate anything you may want, so all life can thrive. Yet we're at war and have been with the Middle East for decades, right? So how is this really working? A world free of fear and violence. I don't see that. A world with universal literacy. You can take that one or two ways. Literacy means the ability to read, write, and comprehend language. A universal literacy. So we're going to have one language. What is that language going to be? I can take a couple of guess. A world with equitable and universal access to quality education at all levels, to health care and social protection, where physical, mental, and social well-being are assured. Okay? Let's go back to that democratic socialist stuff that we were seeing earlier. All this is in play, guys. All this is in play. And you can see the difference between what's on paper and what is happening. Right? Where food is sufficient, safe, and affordable and nutritious. Well, we can do that in a lab. But it's not safe, it's not nutritious, right? A world where human habitats are safe, resilient, and sustainable, and where there is universal access to affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy, right? People have been killed for alternative forms of energy because it goes against the oil, the coal, and the electric big guns of the world, right? A world of universal respect for human rights, human dignity, the rule of law, justice, equality, and non-discrimination. Of respect for race, ethnicity, and cultural diversity, and of equal opportunity permitting the full realization of human potential and contributing to a shared prosperity. Okay, how are you going to pull that off? In a world so full of different cultures and beliefs and religious and ethical beliefs, not everybody has the same beliefs you do. A lot of people have said they're going to start rounding people up and putting them in camps. It is an alternative. It is an option. Because if you were to come to my door right now and say it is the law that you have to respect race, ethnicity, and cultural diversity and share your prosperity, I would tell you to go fuck yourself. I don't have hate for race or any of that stuff. Right? I have opinions about events going on in the world, such as the immigration reform, but I don't have hate for it. You know what I mean? So if you're now to tell me that I'm to welcome them in illegally and just let them do whatever they want to do, I'm going to have a problem with that, as is everybody. For the people that don't like white people or black people, you're going to tell them now, you're forced to, you have to like them. There's going to be a problem, a big problem. Or you have to like police officers, or you have to support Trump or Sanders or what. There's going to be a problem. Okay? Let's see. There is something in here about gender identity. Gender inequality remains a key challenge. Close the gender gap. Here we go. That's the one I was looking for. Create sound policy frameworks at the national, regional, and international levels based on a pro-poor and gender-sensitive development strategies to support accelerated investment in poverty eradication actions. Gender-sensitive. All right, so let me just go ahead and mark where we left off. That's why I was highlighting, because that way I know where we left off. So that we can continue in another video. Okay, let me see, can I put a text here? Okay, I want to say this. I encourage you to read this. I encourage you to keep an open mind. I really do. I really encourage you to keep an open mind and, you know, really learn about it and what the deal is, because guys, I'm not saying that what is on this paper is a bad idea. What I'm saying is the potential outcome of how they plan to act this is a bad idea.
Bullshit, I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair.